Thank you, Your Honor. Here today, of course, for sentencing gives us an opportunity to speak about other matters that I think are involved in sentencing and where we are in the criminal justice system in the processing of this case. As a member of an elected office representing the people of the state of Minnesota, as well as the people of the local community, I want to say a couple of things. And first of all, I want to really thank some of the police officers in the Minneapolis Police Department who, under great pressure, great stress, and to some extent at peril to their occupations, what they've devoted their life to, stuck to their oath and their commitment as police officers to speak openly and honestly about policing and the training that is given and received by police officers. Those officers didn't hide behind a blue wall. They came forward, they told this court and those jurors what they knew about training and responsibility, and I think they deserve recognition and credit for that. I would also like to thank members of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Those agents get called in, great sacrifice to their personal lives. Whenever things happen, they go. They did that here, and under really extraordinary circumstances, completed a very professional and thorough investigation. Conducting interviews is hard enough, but conducting them in the atmosphere of the city following the murder of George Floyd was even more difficult. And they did so, I think, above and beyond the call of duty. And I want to thank them for doing that on behalf of the whole prosecution staff. I want to thank the family, the loved ones, the friends of George Floyd. They have been through so much more than families involved in murder cases. He's right. It's a fraternity you don't want to be part of. But they've been through so much more because of the pandemic and because of security, safety precautions that we've had to take. They have been through a lot. At a time when they try to grieve, like everybody does for the loss of someone, they are going through so much more. And I want to thank them, all of them, the family. The court saw a testimony from Philonise Floyd, Courtney Ross. These are people who are trying to deal with their loss, but they have to do it in a very public way and under very trying circumstances through no fault of their own. So I thank them. They have all been models of grace and understanding. And it's really remarkable, quite frankly. I'll, I think, come back to them again in a little bit. Your Honor, we have submitted a sentencing brief. I would incorporate that. I guess I would incorporate my comments today into that memo. But I do think there are things that I want to bring out today in my arguments. For hundreds of years, the court had discretion in sentencing. It was the trial court's decision on what a sentence should be. The recognition that the trial court sat through the trial, watched the evidence, and saw how it affected people, informed the court's discretion. And the legislature passed the guidelines in a legitimate attempt to try and even out sentences. They defined certain presumptive sentences, as we all know, for typical crimes. For each crime, the typical crime. But they did not remove discretion for sentencing judges.
We definitely got to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. Give me 1 second.
Nobody is better suited
It's laundry day. It's laundry day.
Whether this is the typical case represented by that guidelines presumptive sentence, or if there are reasons why this is worse than that. And the guideline still gives this court discretion when there are aggravating factors to give a more serious sentence than what the guidelines presumption calls for. And as you know, we are asking you to do that today. As this court found, there are 4 aggravating factors that we have identified. They go beyond a list of just what those factors are. We have not just done our homework and found a list. The court made good findings, detailed findings about those factors, and we think they justify a greatly increased sentence. This is not the typical second-degree unintentional murder. Supreme Court in our state has said that, and very recently, even 1 aggravating factor is sufficient to go twice the top of the range. Here we have 4. The first one that the court found is an abusive position of trust and authority. And the court specifically found that when Mr. Chauvin was acting as a police officer, he had a position of trust and authority. That is certainly true. We trust police officers. We trust them when we need help. We call them for help. We trust that they're going to take care of the problems that they are assigned to deal with, right? We trust them. We also give them great authority. We give them great power. We give them power to use force that individuals would be prosecuted for using, right? We give them authority to arrest, to detain. And with great power, of course, comes great responsibility. So they're not sent out there by themselves to do this. They're given substantial training. This court saw all of that through the trial, in general and in specific to Mr. Chauvin and the other 3 officers. They're given training on the use of force, the proportional use of force. The force used has to be warranted by the threat. They're given training on de-escalation because we recognize that police officers are called in when people are not having their best day, when people might be affected by mental illness, drug abuse, any number of issues. They're just having a bad day, and they're trained for that, and should be. And they're taught how to use that to de-escalate and control a situation. They're taught medical intervention. They're taught to provide medical attention to people who need it.
Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for this conversation?
Police officer is a difficult job. We ask a lot of them.
This is crazy. This is crazy. It's crazy.
It's a profession, there's no doubt about it. But we give them a substantial amount of training, and most officers do it right. This case wasn't about police officers, all police officers. It wasn't about policing. This case was about Derek Chauvin disregarding all that training he received and assaulting Mr. Floyd until he suffocated to death. One of the things that you heard, Your Honor, and the jurors heard that can really encapsulate, I think, a very important issue here. 7 words: in your custody, it's in your care. And it's a real simple mantra. It's a real easy thing to remember. You're going to take custody of somebody, you have to provide care. You have to do it in a caring way. You can't simply disregard their care. Mr. Chauvin abused his position of trust and authority as a police officer by doing just that, just disregarding all his training. It was an abuse of that because what did he decide to do? We often are forced in this criminal justice system to infer people's state of mind by their conduct and their statements. What was Derek Chauvin's endgame here? What was the plan? It seems apparent the plan was hold him down until we can dump him in an ambulance and no longer have him be our problem. You recall he said to Charles McMillan, he's a big guy, might be on something. That's it. He held Mr. Floyd down as Mr. Floyd begged for his life. He had the other officers help in that regard. And rather than doing the simple expedient of putting him on his side,
it's almost done.
Yeah,
about 2 more minutes. I want y'all to hear something.
Dismissive to that duty of care. We trust that arrestees will be treated with respect, reasonable force, and that their medical needs will be addressed. I'm paraphrasing from the court's findings. That trust was violated. We trust that they will use their authority reasonably, and this was a particularly egregious abuse of that force. Again, paraphrasing the court's findings. The typical second-degree murder does not involve that extent of abuse of a dearly held position of abuse or a position of authority and trust by the community and by individuals of the community.
Theme Galaxy 5 p.m. It's 5 o'clock p.m.
Your Honor, found that Mr. Floyd was treated by Mr. Chauvin with particular cruelty. I think tortured is the right word. We know that, I mean, we've all seen it. Mr. Floyd did not want to be in the back seat. That's it. And that's the rub. It was the need to get him in that back seat no matter what. And we all saw that once he was pulled out of that back seat, he calmed right down. He even willingly went down to the ground. I'm going down, he said. And he went down to the ground.
Reggie, what's up, man? We got to talk about this situation.
Not punching.
I think it's almost done.
Placed initially on his side. He's already handcuffed. He's placed on his side in the recovery position, like he should be, because he's trying to breathe. And then quickly placed prone on the ground.
Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I'm sure y'all just as appalled as I am.
His left knee on George Floyd's neck, his right knee on George Floyd's back.
Laundry day. Laundry day.
On the pavement.
Yes, I do laundry.
Had Officer King sit on Mr. Floyd's waist area and had Officer Lane hold his feet down. You can even see Mr. Floyd trying to pull his feet up. We all are going to fight to breathe. Everybody knows that fear when you all of a sudden realize you're having trouble breathing.
It says 2 minutes left. Right? 2 minutes left.
Survive. We know, appreciate what he's going through. He knows he's suffocating. We all know that feeling of not being able to breathe enough. And he's begging, pleading, and he's being ignored. His concerns are being dismissed by somebody who has taken custody but not cared. He was kept in that prone position for 9.5 minutes and was suffocated. There's no other way to say it. That's particularly cruel. That is more cruel than the typical second-degree unintentional murder.
Okay, let me get right into this real quick. First of all, I'm hoping that you guys are having a good day, enjoying the start of your weekend. However, you know, some things that we got to discuss. Derek Chauvin, we're going to call him Derek, right? Derek Chauvin showed George Floyd no mercy. I wanted you guys to hear the conversation that was going on in the courtroom. I'm sure a lot of you all have already heard it. But the gentleman was saying that Derek did something sinister. And because he did something sinister, that he should be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. Let's get to that. Let's get to that part. The highest extent of the law for taking someone's life. They're thinking it's 22.5 years. Let that marinate. Somebody takes your son, your daughter's life, your husband, your wife, a family member, a friend, and they're going to get 22 years. Now, here's the thing. It's the sinister part for me. It's the kneeing on the neck until death part for me. It's the public acknowledgement and witnessing the death of George Floyd, which made the situation that much more astronomical, that much more sinister. How do you not give this man life? Why does he deserve a chance to come back out to society and say, "Hey, I'm back, y'all. I've given I paid my debt to society." Well, here's the thing. Derek Chauvin paying his debt to society, serving jail time, is not going to bring George Floyd back. It's not going to give his daughter her father. There's going to be a lot of moments that she's going to miss with her father. However, she's going to relive Derek Chauvin kneeling on her father's neck for the rest of her life. So where should Derek Chauvin be? Behind bars. It's a no-brainer. So the level of logic that's going on with this situation, to me, showcases the cost of life. The cost of life. What is the cost of life? Is your life valuable? Some people say, hey, it's the blacks against the whites, it's the whites against the Asians against this, and and I understand all that, and I understand that everybody has their talking points and the reason why they feel the way they're feeling. But the fact of the matter is, when you watch Derek Chauvin put his hands in his pocket and kneel on a man's neck. I'm gonna read that comment one time. Give me 1 second. And kneel on a man's neck as if he just scored a winning touchdown. While people were recording him. And looked like he was just comfortable. The word sinister resonates very well. I can't imagine being a father. I can't imagine being someone's spouse, someone's friend, and watching someone do that, especially in law enforcement. Now, if I was a police officer anywhere in that vicinity, I would be appalled right now. Like, he probably wouldn't even, by the time he would have made it to the precinct, we probably would have been whooping his ass all throughout the precinct. Let me get to some of these comments because I want to hear y'all thoughts on this. Reggie says, "What do we do? No one don't know is once you become a cop, you're legal to kill people. So cops are protected by so many constitutions. So I hear you. We need to hold the police accountable for their teeth. You know what? Here's the thought process, y'all. Police should be held responsible, definitely. That is a legitimate conversation, and see, to me, this ain't about defunding the police. Let's stay on topic, right? This ain't about holding the police accountable. This is about holding one man who took another man's life intentionally, whether the man was black, whether the man was white. Again, that's another conversation. I'm saying just for the pure sinister motivation to kill. Yes, he was a cop. Yes, he was white. Yes, the victim was a black guy. We got that. We understand that. We smart. But my thought process now goes to, what's the price of life? How valuable is life? Because my thought process is, if someone kills us, do they get 22.5 years too? Or do they get less years? Because George Floyd, rightfully so, if you look at the situation, that was a name that rang. Like, you knew who George Floyd was. He was America's victim. You know what I'm saying? He was America's, people made him a martyr. People talked about him and uplifted him. It was some people who drug him out. Said because he had a criminal background, because he was on drugs, because in some people's words, a criminal. Now, we shouldn't uplift him. We should not praise him. We should not wear him on t-shirts. He should not be uplifted. That was something that Candace Owens said. Another thing that Brandon Tatum said. There was a lot of people in the uproar and saying, hey, how dare you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a shame that now when people die, you have to check and see if they had a criminal record or not in order to mourn them, in order to say that they shouldn't have died in that fashion. And my thought process is this, you know what I'm saying? I truly believe that we all feel like George Floyd should not have died in the manner that he died. I really don't care what if he had counterfeit money, if he was drunk, if he was high, it really didn't matter, because when you are a trained professional, you are supposed to act accordingly. You're supposed to protect and serve. And nothing about what Derek Chauvin did showcased protecting and serving. So for violating that, you deserve life in prison. For kneeling on George Floyd's neck to the point where he died, you deserve the death penalty. A life for life. I think it's clearly, you know, really ridiculous at the fact that we have to sit here and watch justice not be served. A lot of people were saying, well, you know, he got, you know, over 20 years, you know, he'll die in prison, etc. And I understand what you're saying, but I think it's the thought. It's the sinister act, but it's listening to the law. Because if the law says, well, if you kill a man on social media, because that's what happened, if you kill a man on social media, we will allow you to go to jail and get back out. Pay your debt to society. Well, here's the thing. He didn't kill society. Society is going and moving forward. Society is doing what it does. So paying your debt to society, or does he pay his debt to the family? How do you pay your debt to the family? How do you pay your debt to his daughter? Because here's the thing. It's like almost watching the same video over and over and over and over and over again. Would you want to see your dad dying over and over and over again? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure that we talk to our children, make sure we talk to our loved ones and our friends about how to deal with the police. We need to come up with a safe way to ensure that our interactions go well. We need to come up with a way, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like, even though I'm a former military officer, right? What's going on, Darlene? Even though I'm a former military officer, retired from the military or whatever case be, I still act a certain type of way when I'm being stopped by the police, especially at nighttime. Especially at nighttime. And I think that people are under this impression that, you know, you can just say and do whatever you want to. But here's the thought process. If it's you versus the police, right? There is a sense of helplessness that you have. Now, we can say, hey, I'm calling my lawyer, back up. I got quarterbacks, linebackers that protect me. But you got to get to your lawyers. You see what I'm saying? You got to get to your lawyer. Hopefully you can get to the jail. Now, some people will say, hey, you know, the level of police brutality, you know, is higher in these communities versus these communities, et cetera, et cetera. And we can argue the statistics all we want to. I'm talking about facts. And the fact of the matter is that if you don't act accordingly, you're not going home. You're not going home. So I would advise you guys, if you don't have a dash cam in your car, let me talk to y'all real quick. If you don't have a dash cam in your car, a dash cam where it holds your phone, a camera holder, right? That you can see your whole face and whoever's standing right here, right? I would deliberately, if I'm getting stopped, I would deliberately call somebody on the phone. I say, hey, I just got stopped by the police. I'm on such and such highway or such and such street. Looks like a Caucasian police officer or a Hispanic police officer or a black police officer, etc. As soon as you stop me, I'm asking for a badge number. I want to get it recorded. As soon as I'm not being disrespectful. How you doing, officer? Okay, before you tell me what I did wrong, can I get your badge number, please? Can I get your badge number, sir, ma'am? Can I get your badge number? Okay, cool. Now that I got it, why are you stopping me? Okay, cool. You said I was speeding and whatever, or you said you would stop me for a routine stop. Okay, cool. All right. Not trying to get smart with him. All right. I'm not doing a whole lot of sudden moves. He ain't got to tell me to turn the music down. He ain't got to tell me roll down. It's certain things I'm going to do. All right. Just to show respect. But the fact of the matter is I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to get to my next destination. All right. License, registration, right? And insurance. License, registration, and insurance. Bro, listen, ma'am, sir, it should not take all day for you to find these. I'm trying to save somebody's life this weekend. It should not take you all day to have those items ready. Listen, before you take your next shot, before you drive and go get a pair of Jordans, whatever it is that you got planned to do this weekend, have your license, registration, and your insurance readily available. Easy stuff. Let's hurry up and get this process going. Here you go. Make sure that your insurance is up to date. Hey, turn your car on and walk around your car and make sure all the lights are on. Make sure your decals are up to date. I know this sounds childish for some people, but here's the thing. It's people out there living their best life, risking it all just to get to the club, knowing that they ain't got insurance. You making it bad for yourself. But here's the thing. Some things are unprovoked. Sometimes you can be nice. Sometimes you can be respectful. Sometimes you can be, hey, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and still get into a situation. And I'm not telling you that the dash cam is going to save you. I'm telling you, even if you got to go live on Facebook, even if you got to call somebody, you want somebody to be there with you. I think that people need to understand that anytime that you have humans involved, there is going to be human error. All right. Make sure that the error is not you. Make sure that you live through the situation. Now, I'm not saying every time you get stopped by the police, it's going to be warfare. I'm saying that you need to be cognizant of the situation, that you need to realize that the situation can go left real quick. Right? You know how your sons like to play with the toy guns and, or left the toy gun in the car or whatever the case may be. Bro, you need to make sure, I got an issue with people. Who don't clean out their car. I do. Golly, that's so nasty. I got an issue with people who don't clean out their car. Here's my thought process, right? If the officer comes up to, because, especially if it's two, one comes to your driver's side and the other one stands on the other side, normally, right? And you roll down the windows. Now, God forbid if you got something in your car you ain't supposed to have. Something you have that you don't know you have because you don't clean out your car. You don't know what's back there. You don't know who left something back there. And that's why I say keep your shit clean. I'm telling you, somebody gonna thank me later. Somebody gonna thank me later. What happened to George Floyd was a definite tragedy. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that Derek Chauvin should have got life in prison. I don't think that justice has been served. I feel like it's unfortunate that, especially with the climate that we have now, with everybody tense the way they are. When you look at that and you say, you killed this man the way you killed him, and you got 22 years. You'll have drug kingpins or whatever case may be, right, that get more time than that. You have people doing other things that ain't killed nobody that gets more time than that. what is the price of life? I saw somebody says he's protected. Interesting. I wonder how many policemen think that justice has been served. Reggie said, I feel like that wasn't him. I don't know what Reggie's talking about right now. The question is how protected this man really is. Looks as Zimmerman, and he was protected. I think it's interesting to listen to the commentary that is happening because most of the people that I'm listening to in reference to commentary, like all of them are saying, because not just the fact that George Floyd was murdered, but how he was murdered. That there is no way this man should get 30 years. He should get life. And everyone is saying it on all of these media outlets. I don't understand how you sit there and be like, oh yeah, we're requesting he gets 30 years, Your Honor. How you come up with that number? Can somebody help me out? Matter of fact, I'm about to call my homeboy who's a league. How do you come up with that number? And that's why I was listening to the gentleman kind of break down the charges and what he did and all this other stuff. And I'm like, how do you come up with 30 years? Like, let me see. Kneeling on a man's neck till he's dead. You want to go with 30? Let's go with 30. You want to go with 30? 30 good? Like, who agrees to that? Who agrees to that? Oh, you hit somebody and they was walking across, they was jaywalking, but you hit somebody. You want to give them 5? Like, how are you throwing these numbers out there? That was a heinous, sinister act, and you're saying that this man deserves the ability to be able to get out of. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't an accident. He didn't mistakenly fall on his neck. He sat there. He posed there. So I'm trying to figure out in what society, and I guess you would say our society, that would say that he deserves a right to be rehabilitated. I want y'all to think about this. There's people that's locked up behind bars that ain't supposed to be behind bars. There's people that went to jail for minor crimes and got all of these football numbers. This man kneels on a man's neck all over social media. And they say, well, he deserves to be rehabilitated. Bruh, what? Huh? There's a level of confusion. And that's why I said, man, we got to stop all of the button of heads between men and women, between this community and that community. We have to really, if you really say you stand for something, you really say, hey, I'm pro-black, or I'm a this and I'm a that, whatever it is you use, whatever term you use. I'm saying at this point in time, man, we have to start talking about game plans and actions versus just promoting hatred. And that's the problem. I was telling another man, it seems like his thing was to say, let's burn this and let's do that and let's do, like it was the rally of the troops to hate, but it wasn't to have a conversation about actions that should be taken to prevent such hate. How do you protect yourself from such hate? And I always listen to understand and comprehend people when they, especially when they fired up and they really passionate about something. I just, kind of sit back and just take it in and I listen, or whatever case may be. And it just seems to me that we've reached a point where it is more about promoting hate. It is more about promoting disdain than it is about taking action. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know how to take action, is one thing, right? If you just want to talk passionately, that's another thing. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that everybody's learned a lesson from George Floyd. Let me tell you what I've learned. What I've learned is that no matter how your death is publicized, no matter what pain has been caused, what disrespect, what sinister act has been done, that someone's going to sit down and say, I still see you as a human, Derek Chauvin. I still feel like you're worth saving, Derek. I like to thank you for protecting and serving all them other years, but you know, this sinister act right here, we gonna kind of overlook it a little bit. Because you gotta overlook it if you're saying 30 years. Nothing about you will serve time for the rest of your natural life. If I could give you the death penalty, sir, you would get the death penalty, sir. I said your picture is blurry. Is my picture blurry? Let me know if it's blurry. It's clear on my side. This is why you don't let your kids play with your phone. This is why you don't let your kids play with your phone. Let me know if it's blurry. Let me do something real quick. Let's see if I can do something real quick here. But check this out, man. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I'm sure that everyone is kind of feeling a certain type of way about the results of the trial. I'm really hoping that you guys talk to your loved ones and your friends about actions to take with the police, about making sure that you guys have an accountability partner when you're out and about. I know that you want to, live your best life and you don't want to feel like, you're in a cage. But I would honestly, do more to communicate your goings and comings. You know what I'm saying? Because things can get difficult, especially when you're traveling. Like now, it's summertime, so people are traveling, going to this state, this city, or whatever case may be. People disappear. Don't forget the sex trafficking thing and all this other stuff is going on. So, if you got kids and family and friends and all this other stuff, whatever, make sure that you check on them. Make sure that you check on them because there are a lot of things happening, and probably not to the extent of George Floyd level, but there are a lot of things happening where people's rights are being violated and their life is being taken. So before you become the next statistic, make sure that you do everything you can to protect yourself. Man, until next time, y'all adult up. Peace.